Hello, welcome to TTales. This story is called Sam's survival story. It was a cold November evening when 10-year-old Sam disappeared. No one knew exactly what had happened, but one thing was certain. He didn't come home that night. His parents, Emma and Daniel, were devastated. They reported him as missing, put up posters, and searched everywhere. But days passed and no one knew where Sam was. 2 weeks later, he came back, but his story was something no one could have expected. Sam had run away from home. It wasn't that he hated his parents. On the contrary, he loved them, but he felt invisible. No one was really listening to him anymore. No one asked how he was doing. At school, he was alone, and at home, his parents were always busy with their jobs. So one evening, he decided to leave and never come back. He left with no plan, no thought of where he was going. He walked until he found an old abandoned car at the back of a parking lot. The car smelled of old leather and dust, but it was his only shelter from the cold. He curled up on the worn-out back seat and tried to sleep, but the nights were freezing and the food he had brought with him didn't last long. After 2 days, he was hungry, really hungry. Sam started sneaking around a fast food chain down by the highway. There was food and people weren't always paying attention. The first time he stole, it was a box of fries left behind by a man at a table. No one saw him. The second time, it was a half-eaten burger someone had thrown into the trash. After a few days, he became bolder. He started sneaking into the restaurant, waiting until someone looked away, and swiping a cheeseburger or a bag of nuggets from the counter. It worked for a while, but one evening, he got caught. An employee, a grumpy man named Gary, caught him red-handed as he was shoving a burger into his pocket. "What do you think you're doing, kid?" Gary growled, grabbing him by the arm. Sam tried to break free, but it was too late. The restaurant manager called the police, and suddenly he was sitting in the back of a police car on his way home. He knew he was in trouble, but he had no idea how much. When Sam got home, his mom and dad were relieved but also angry. They couldn't understand why he had run away, but they just wanted him to be safe. The problem wasn't over yet. A week later, they received a letter from the fast food chain's lawyers. The restaurant was suing them for theft, for financial loss, for morally damaging behavior. It was absurd, but it was real. A huge fast food chain wanted them to pay thousands of dollars for the hamburgers and nuggets Sam had taken. His parents were furious. They had already lost 2 weeks of their lives worrying about him, and now this? They decided to fight back. They took the case to court. The media loved the story. Fast food chain sues parents of hungry child. 10-year-old stole food to survive. Now the fast food chain demands compensation. Soon the story was on every news site, and people were outraged. How could a corporation try to punish a family for their child being hungry? In court, the fast food chain's lawyers tried to argue that theft was theft, no matter the reason. But Sam and his parents made a better point. How could a billion-dollar company try to crush an ordinary family over a few hamburgers? The judge agreed. The fast food chain lost, and not only that, they had to pay the family damages for the emotional distress. It was a big victory. After the trial, things began to change. Sam no longer felt invisible. His parents realized they needed to listen to him more, to be there for him. They started having dinner together every evening. They took him to a therapist so he could talk about his feelings. And the fast food chain? They tried to sweep the whole thing under the rug. They changed their policies on how they handled minors and donated food to shelters for homeless children. Maybe they were trying to salvage their reputation, but for Sam, it didn't matter. He had learned something more important, that he wasn't alone, that he mattered, and that sometimes even the biggest giants can fall to a little boy with a story worth listening to. Thanks for listening to this story. I hope to see you next week. Take care.